looks like as far as roster updates, they actually waived Sewell Peta on today, which now opens a roster spot. Could that mean Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is returning? Could that mean Robert Quinn is back in the lineup? Brett Toth is out there. They activated a 21-day practice window for him. What's going to happen? We don't have many answers as far as our own team, but we'd also like to get into the business of another team, the team that we're actually playing this week. So without further ado, let me bring on my brother from another mother, Braulio Perez, over at G-Men HQ. How you doing today, my man?
I'm good, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me too, by the way.
No, I appreciate you for coming on, man. So let's get back into it. I know that you took some time out of your schedule. You're a very busy man. You took time out to hang with us, and we appreciate it. So I'm not going to do any warm-up. We're not going to do any stretching, any exercise or anything, man. We're going to just jump right into it. Are y'all playing the starters or not?
Hey, I've reached out to Brian Dable multiple times. Haven't heard back from him. He has no idea who I am. So we're just going to have to wait and see what the team decides. But we do know for sure that Leonard Williams and Azeez Ojulari, they have been ruled out. Adoree Jackson deemed doubtful. They're not going to rush him back. He's dealing with that knee injury that he suffered doing a punt return, which don't even get me started on that. But so those are three key players that won't be playing. That's all we know for sure. Dable has made it seem like there's a chance that his starters will play, but to me, it doesn't make sense. The Giants have locked in that number 6 seed in the NFC postseason. Why risk guys getting injured? Could you imagine if Daniel Jones goes out there, evades the pocket, gets sacked, and then hurts his knee, hurts his shoulder, and then he's out, 2 to 3 weeks, but then he can't play in the wild card round? Like that would be everyone's biggest fear. Mm-hmm. If it was a different scenario, if the Giants had to win to get in, of course, you'd see everybody out there, Ojulari, Leonard Williams, they would be playing, but it's just a different circumstance right now. I can't imagine that the majority of the starters are going to play. And if they do play, one would hope that it's only for, a couple of series, maybe the first quarter tops, and then get those guys out of there.
All right. For those who tuned in late, you're listening to Braulio Perez, editor over at G-Men HQ, very good friend of mine. We're stepping behind enemy lines a little bit tonight to kind of figure out what the Giants are thinking and what's going on with their franchise. So, real deal question, man. The Giants rest their starters. They can do no better or no worse than the 6th seed. Mm-hmm. What do you think your chances are in the playoffs once you get there?
I think it really depends who the Giants face. It's right now, I think it's between the 49ers or the Vikings, and the Giants are going to have to travel for that game. If they take on the Vikings,
that's a winnable game.
I think that's a very winnable game. You've looked at how over the last 2 weeks, I know the Vikings came back from that monster deficit to beat the Colts. They looked shaky in that game. That last loss that they had in Week 17 in Green Bay, have we seen Minnesota play that poorly? In how long? They looked absolutely awful in all 3 phases of the game. There was a special teams touchdown that they gave up. Cousins threw that pick 6. Aaron Rodgers in the offense, they didn't look like the Packers offensive old, but they were still able to make some plays. They were able to move the ball. I mean, if the Giants take on Minnesota, I think it's an incredibly winnable game. These teams are quite familiar with one another. They just played recently, and Minnesota won on that, 61 or 62-yard walk-off field goal on New Year's Day. I mean, the Giants.
That bounces another way. Y'all actually got that game. So, yeah.
I'm sorry?
That ball bounces another way or doesn't get there. Y'all definitely got that game and everything. So, I mean.
That was a game, too, that the Giants, a lot of the Giants fans felt like they let that one slip away. Like the Giants had that game, but it was just a close loss. If they're given another chance, they know they can go over there and be competitive with them. I think they've got a great shot of posting another upset in the playoffs in that wild card round. If it's Minnesota, if it's San Francisco, I think people are going to be a little bit more worried just because that defense is just so elite. Except Jarrett Stidham just tossed 3-4 touchdowns against them last week. I think once you get into the postseason, anything can happen. So I think there is a possibility for them to make a splash and make some noise.
Good. I heard something, man. I made the mistake of doing something that you and I said we probably shouldn't do as often. I made the mistake of reading comments in the comment section, man. So I'm looking at a lot of what Eagles fans are saying, what Giants fans are saying, and knowing I probably should not pay attention to this, but I've heard this more than one time, so I thought I would ask you because you would probably know better.
Okay.
I'm hearing stories that the Giants are still angry. Now, Brian Daboll was not a part of that team when we apparently laid down versus the Washington Commanders.
Oh, yeah.
Ruined you guys' chances of making the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing Giants fans are still a little bit angry about that. There are some people that are still in the organization that feel like this should be a little bit of get back for y'all. You heard anything of that nature? It's just completely ridiculous.
I haven't seen or heard any of that, but I know people still are furious about how the way things ended that year, because it did prevent the Giants from making the playoffs. Now, with that said, if the Giants want to go out and try and prevent the Eagles from getting that number 1 seed, are you really going to put your players' health at risk in order to get that done when you're already going to the playoffs? I know there's a lot of people probably within the front office too aren't happy about that. Ownership probably is just like, how could, it just makes the rivalry that much, stronger. But I wouldn't worry too much about that this weekend.
What's the perception of Brian Daboll? How good of a job is he doing? Are you guys satisfied with him? I know what we're saying about him in the media and things of that nature, but what are fans and everybody in the New York media saying?
Rock star. This guy's just completely won over everybody in New York and New Jersey. East Rutherford, I know in New Jersey, people love Bon Jovi. Brian Daboll is probably a bigger star than Bon Jovi right now, just because this team before this season had been 5 years since they'd won at least 6 games in a campaign. A lot of the experts, national media, thought the Giants would finish dead last in the NFC East this year and then maybe win 4 or 5 games. They're 9-6-1 right now. Had you told me that this team would be 9-6-1 heading into the last week of the season, and that Kenny Golladay would have 4 receptions on the year, Sterling Shepard would be out for the season with a torn ACL, and Kadarius Toney would have been traded to the Chiefs, I would have told you you're crazy. I would have said there is just absolutely no way that would happen. But look at what Brian Daboll has been able to do with a roster made up of a lot of guys who, let's be real, wouldn't be starting on other competitive teams. Isaiah Hodgins, he's one of my favorite players for the Giants this season. Before week 1, no one had any idea who this kid was. He was a practice squad caliber player for the Bills. They released him. The Giants claimed him off waivers. He's become the number 1 option for this offense. And he's been everything that people thought Kenny Golladay would be. He's reliable. He's fighting for extra yards. He's blocking. He's putting himself out there. Hodgins, unbelievable player, and that's just proof of Daboll getting the most out of his players. And the roster that they have, again, there's not a lot of talent, especially on offense. There's not a lot of guys' names that you see and you're like, holy smokes, this guy's going to be a difference maker. But Daboll, Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, I know people are a lot of hit or miss with him, but I think they've all done a great job, and Daboll's at the forefront of everything, and he's just absolutely beloved by everybody right now.
What's needed for the Giants to leapfrog the Dallas Cowboys and Philadelphia Eagles and take over as a team to be in the NFC East? What are you guys missing? Receiver help. Right now, the main guys catching the ball from Daniel Jones is Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James. And then you have Darius Slayton on the outside as well. But Darius Slayton was a guy who was potentially going to be cut prior to the season. So they just need receiver help. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, if he can stay healthy next year, I think he's going to be a big piece of the puzzle for this offense. But they got to go out and get some help. In free agency, bring in someone that can be dependable, someone that can stay on the field. There's a lot of talk about that first-round pick. What are they going to do? They need linebacker help as well. Or are they going to get a speedy wide receiver who can really make life easier for Daniel Jones? Guys like Jordan Addison have been mentioned. Former Biletnikoff winner at Pitt, who's now at USC, of course. If he can make his way to East Rutherford, he could open up the field. because they're gonna cut Kenny Golladay. He's got to go. That'll create some cap space for him. So it'll be interesting to see what Joe Schoen does. But definitely wide receiver help to get them in that conversation, because the job Wink Martindale has done with the defense, brilliant. It's been fantastic. And they got a lot of young talent. Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau as pass rusher. Dexter Lawrence has become one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. And that Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, anytime that guy gets a sack, his little dance that he does. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I know you like it. It irritates me, but I know you like it. What about Daniel Jones, quarterback? You satisfied with Jones? Is he back next season?
I think he comes back. I think he's played his way into a new contract. Because the GM's going to have a tough decision because he has that franchise tag. Does he use it on Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones? What I'm seeing is you tag Barkley and then you give Jones a new 3 or 4 year deal. But the question is, how much money are you going to give him? I saw someone tweet the other day, he's going to want 30 to 35 million a year. I don't think you can give him that much, but if you can get him in the 20 to 25 million range, even maybe up to 30, I think you got to give him a chance because again, his options at receiver this year, who's catching the ball from him? It's been James, Isaiah Hodgins, and then earlier in the year it was Marcus Robinson. So a lot of these wide receivers, they haven't really given him the chance to succeed with the weapons that he has. So I think personally, I think he's earned his way back next year and the year after and potentially for the next 3 to 4 years. But now it's on the front office to really give him that help that he needs. Because like I said, Galladay is gone. They traded away Kadarius Toney. And those two guys figured to be stars for this team for years. Toney was a first-round pick last year, but things just didn't work out there. So they need to give Jones the help he needs. But I think he'll definitely be back. And I'd like to see Saquon Barkley back as well.
Can Jones beat people with his arm?
He can. There have been so many times this year that he has made some fantastic throws. The things that hurt his percentage is the drops. In that loss to the Vikings, 3rd down and 5, I still fresh in my head. Richie James runs a route. Oh, yeah. Jones hits him right in the breadbasket. Like, bro, all you have to do is catch the ball. This is what you're paid to do. Drops it. There have been other, like Kenny Galladay has 4 drops on the season too. I think Jones can get it done. But the thing that's really been great to see out of him this year, and Mike Kafka has realized this, is let him run. Like the fact that Jones' nickname given to him by Saquon is Vanilla Vic, it just shows you that this guy can run the football. He's very good at seeing the holes and just taking off. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns on the year. He had 2 last week against the Colts. So I think that makes defenses understand that they have to respect that part of his game too. So that's only going to open up more opportunities for him to throw the ball. I think he can. I think he can get the job done with his arm. But the good thing is that he also can use his legs and take advantage of that open space.
3-part question for y'all, get out your way. Is there any way the Giants win this game on Sunday? Who are the unknown guys who may not get the national recognition that Giants fans may know that could ruin this game for the Eagles? Mm-hmm. And what's your realistic prediction for the game?
Okay, so the Eagles are going to win. Congrats in advance on the number 1 seed. Enjoy the bye week off. Relax. Jeffrey, you take some time off. You've earned it. So for the Giants, under the radar guys, I think it definitely starts in the secondary. Fabian Moreau, defensive back. He's been very, very solid. He was a late addition to this team because a lot of people thought, Adoree Jackson, Darnay Holmes, they were going to be the stud cornerbacks for this team. But then, injuries, it's been a nightmare for the Giants this year. But Moreau has stepped in. He's done a fantastic job. And then also with Barkley, probably not going to get a whole lot of run. Matt Breida, veteran running back. He's been around in the NFL for a while. He's a productive back. He can run the ball well. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And then if Jones doesn't play, obviously, you're going to see a lot of Tyrod Taylor. So we'll see how he does throwing the ball around. And interestingly enough, if the Giants do rest a lot of their starters, you figure Kenny Galladay is going to get a lot more playing time because he's been benched for most of the second half because of his lack of production. So if other guys are out, Galladay is going to step in. Could you imagine if Galladay finally catches his first touchdown as a Giant in 2 seasons in a meaningless game where they're down by 14, 21 points to the Eagles on Sunday? So I would say those guys are people to watch. And then in terms of a prediction, I do think the Eagles are going to win. I think the Giants are going to rest the majority of their starters or pull the guys early on. And if Jalen Hurts is healthy, I could see it being maybe like a 31-10 or 34-10. But I think definitely advantage to the home team at Lincoln Financial.
Well done, man. Tell them how they can get in contact with you. We've been scrolling information. If you're tuning in late, you've been listening to Braulio Perez, editor at GMNHQ. But tell them how they can reach you and stay in contact with you.
I'm sorry, Jeff. You're what were you saying?
Just let them know how they can get in contact with you and stay in contact with you and things of that nature.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, Eagles fans, if you didn't like what I had to say and you want to give me some negative comments, my Twitter is Braulio E. Perez. And then we'll have some follow-ups at gminhq.com after the game. And Jeff, like I said, man, good luck this weekend. Hope everything goes well. And most importantly, everyone stay healthy. And kind of want to follow what you said to start with Damar Hamlin. Very happy to see him doing well. Shout out to the Bengals fans, the Bills fans, and also the first responders on the field who really rushed in to help this young man. And, you know, you said you're going to see him play football again. In soccer a couple of years ago, Christian Eriksen of Denmark, cardiac arrest on the field. Now he's one of the best players for Manchester United in their midfield. Let's hope for the same for Damar Hamlin.
That's what we want. That's what we want, man. You're a better man than me because I cannot wish your Giants luck on this weekend, but you know I love you.
I got nothing but love for you, man. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you for coming on, Braulio. You have a good night, man.
You too, man. Take care.
All right. And if you tune in late, you just spent the last 20 minutes or so listening to Braulio Perez and everything. Editor over at GMNHQ and dear friend of mine over at Fansided. Just picked the wrong team. Just like you Cowboys fans. I said I wasn't going to talk about you anymore, didn't I? Hey, I did it again. I looked at social media. I looked at YouTube. I looked at Facebook, and it's full of Cowboys fans. I don't know why you won't leave me alone. Like, because I work for a publication that's national and everything, I'm not going to get into modes that I could get into and actually ether you guys for real, but keep trying me. It's going to get ugly. All right, from one guest to another. I've been waiting on this for quite some time, man. 4th and Jawn. There are tons of podcasts, as you know. Too many. I find a new one every day. Every time I turn on YouTube, I'm finding podcasts I didn't know they exist. Joe Budden has a show. I didn't know that. I'm locked in. I watched 3 episodes of Joe Budden and everything. And that's pretty much how my day started. Then I watched Black Mafia Family. It almost ended up being a totally different show when I took the air. And it was almost a totally different show had I taken the air last week. Tough losses. Christmas Eve to the Dallas Cowboys and New Year's Day to the New Orleans Saints. That one stung. But I brought reinforcements. So I was Satan. 4th and Jawn. It's one of my favorite podcasts. Been a fan for quite some time. This is somebody. This is a team you need to bookmark. This is a show that you guys have to watch every time that it comes on because I absolutely do the same thing. I've reached out to them several times and stuff. There's a mutual respect between Inside the Iggles and them, and I'm proud of that. I've often told them that I enjoy their work. They told me the same thing, which is flattering, to be honest with you. We do this because we love to do this, but we also, whether we say we do or not, it's cool to have the admiration of some of your colleagues and some of the people that you look up to. So I just got to say, man, it's an honor to take some time and have these dudes on the show tonight. Not going to waste any more of their time. I'm going to bring them on right now. Welcome for 4th and Jawn.
Hey, thanks for having us on, man.
My man, Gayle Saunders.
How you doing, man?
And Hearn. Appreciate you guys for joining me. How you doing?
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Hey, you fine? Can you hear me?
You good?
I can't hear you guys.
This guy, yeah, I tell you what, if you've been paying attention to the 4th of Jawn shows recently, you'd know that Gayle Saunders has some internet connection problems every once in a while. But I want to thank you for having us on, Jeffrey. Those very kind words. And same to you, man. Like, huge fan of your show as well. We're doing the dirty work out here, talking about the birds, whether times are good, times are bad, and times could not be better right now, my friend.
Yeah, it is. Man, I just want to say, just from the bottom of my heart, man, I appreciate you guys for coming on. You guys do great work. You're outstanding at what you do and everything, and I'm a huge fan. And I mean every word of what I said. Anybody that's an Eagles fan need to be plugged in to 4th and Jawn and figuring out what you guys have to talk about, man, because I ain't going to lie to you. I cheat, steal some of y'all stuff, and then act like I can't.
We work off each other, man. We work off each other. But, it goes to show, we all, especially Eagles fans, you mentioned how there's a lot of Eagles podcasts out there. It's oversaturated. But I will say that there's one thing about our fan base. It's a super educated fan base. Eagles fans, they live and die by this team. And, there's nothing that else we want to talk about? I mean, the Eagles winning or losing sets the barometer for the entire week. If we win, spirits are high. If we lose, we're down in the dumps. And these past 2 weeks, I know a lot of people have been down in the dumps, but I got to be honest with you, man. I'm looking at it objectively. We've lost with a backup quarterback, albeit that game plan for last week was garbage. It was trash. And I think that is more on Nick Sirianni than it was on Gardner Minshew. I think he set him up for failure, if I'm being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been thinking a lot about it, especially today. And I look at how Miles Sanders gets 11 carries in that game. And it just, first of all, it boils my blood, considering like that's a guy that you need to lean on when you don't have your quarterback in the game. But it makes me believe that without Jalen Hurts in the game and without Jalen Hurts having a threat to run, Nick Sirianni doesn't believe in our run game. And he's setting up game plans that are essentially one-dimensional. We're trying to win with our elite wide receivers. Both, we got 2 top 10 wide receivers, which is unheard of for Eagles fans. I know. It feels like Braulio is going through something similar to what we went through the year that Greg Ward was our number 1 receiver. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Jones is just working with some slop out there. And I want to come on here and I want to bash his numbers, only 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, but he's throwing to nobody. But I will say, I was happy that Braulio is thinking that he's going to get $30 million potentially a year. I'm all for it. Give him all the money. I want Daniel Jones to stay in New York.
Give him the money. Exactly. Now, I'm like you, man. See, I was a little concerned because, again, I made the mistake of actually reading the comments. Now, I told myself over and over again, I'm not going to do that. But then I started paying attention to what some people were saying. And I'll tell you, we've all been Eagles fans forever. So we're not going to let anybody else talk about us, but we can talk about us because we're Eagles fans.
Exactly.
And I wonder sometimes, man, like I've always bragged on this fan base. As I said, this is the most intelligent fan base in football. And then sometimes I listen to what they say and I'm like, are they though?
I mean, you look at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of people that looked like me that were saying that Gardner Minshew should be starting this year, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up because Jalen Hurts showed you he's that guy, and he has been that guy. I'm glad that the Eagles made the right decision.
Well, let's get into it, man.
Gayle, we can't hear you.
On the season. It seems like the world is over. If you talk to certain people, you feel like we were 3-13.
Yeah, I know.
On the season, 1 win, which I believe is very doable, and we've said this for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Hopefully the third time is a charm. 1 win will put us in the playoffs. You mentioned the Dallas Cowboys game. Now, I totally agree with you. The Dallas Cowboys game, that's just a game that you lose to Dallas. Eventually, if we're going to take this division and take it officially, we actually have to go down to Arlington and we have to beat Dallas because I don't think we've beaten them since 2017. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's been a while. Mm-hmm. So you got to go down there. You got to snatch the division from Dallas into Arlington and prove it. We got to figure out a way to beat them with Dak Prescott on the field and do it consistently. But that was a game that I felt like I wasn't going to be shocked if the Eagles lost, and they lost, and I wasn't. But I came out really encouraged, feeling like, 4 turnovers, backup quarterback, and we still had a chance to win. Dallas Cowboys fans can't brag to me right now. Absolutely.
And I said the exact same thing as I was sitting there watching my family on Christmas Eve. I mean, we almost had that Christmas miracle. And I'm sitting there like, man, if we find a way to pull this game off, I do not want to hear a peep from Cowboys fans until next year, man. I mean, if we went in there with the backup quarterback, but that's not how it played out. And to be honest with you, Dallas is the ones with the momentum right now, way more than us. So we can't take this game lightly. As much as I think that the Eagles come in here and win handily, I don't want us in the Micah Parsons mentality where we're looking ahead already at the playoffs. We need to handle business this week.
Absolutely. And that's what we didn't do last week. So, and we brought Gayle Saunders back onto the show. Welcome back on the show, Gayle. I'm a kind of vent to you a little bit here. So, Christmas Eve was ruined for me.
Hold on. Gayle still can't talk.
Can you hear me? Okay, well, he's with us. So
sign your answer.
I'm a vent to both. I'm a vent to both of you guys. So
okay.
So we had an issue here. So New Year's Day came, and I'm like, okay, cool. We play a game like that or something in that area, we can still beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
No problem at all. No issue. And you saw what happened.
Yeah.
I came out that one feeling a little discouraged, man. But at the same time, I'm like, well, it's football. They got NFL players over there too. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday, and you never know. So I'm like, I tried to chalk it up and think about Miami a couple years ago. I tried to chalk it up and think about every single time we seem to play the Titans.
Tennessee, yeah, I was just about to say.
Occasionally those games happen. Occasionally things go wrong and things of that nature, but we should be fine. But are you like me? Are you a little nervous?
To be honest with you, I'm not, man. I'm really not. And it all comes down to Jalen Hurts. I believe in my heart of hearts that Jalen Hurts has actually been good to play these past 2 weeks. And Nick Sirianni has been kind of pussyfooting the situation, if I'm being real with you. I think he wants to make sure Jalen is healthy for the playoffs, which is 100% my number one thing that I want to happen. I want him to be healthy for the playoffs. But if we're being honest, I mean, I used my eyeballs. We're Eagles fans. We watch all these games. I saw the end of that Chicago game when he was throwing the ball around, and he looked like he was okay. It looked like maybe he takes the next week off if it really is bothering him that much. But I think truly he was ready to go against the Saints. But Nick Sirianni felt that we were a good enough team to beat the Saints without him. He didn't draw up a good enough game plan to beat the Saints without him. And to be honest with you, I know you're a fan of the show, but I'm not sure if you know, Taysom Hill, man, he's like, there's the Dallas Cowboys, there's the New York Giants, and then there's Taysom Hill, man. I can't stand losing to Taysom Hill. And the way he tore us up, it was depressing, especially after that Cowboys loss. But to answer your question, once we get in the playoffs, man, I have full confidence that we are the best team in the league. We are going to lock in, and we'll handle business.
It's got some 2017 vibes to it. Like the same thing happened. We had that ugly game on Christmas night versus the Raiders. I was on that side. I was like, well, it's been fun. I don't know.
I know.
But we set ourselves up to win it next year. That's actually what I was telling myself.
Yeah, but like if you think about, like, it's kind of playing out the exact same way. Jalen Hurts ends up getting hurt around the same week that Carson Wentz got hurt, right? Mm-hmm. And those last regular season games in 2017, I was just like you, man. I was sitting there versus the Raiders, and I'm just looking at Nick Foles, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if Nick's got it for this playoff run. But we all obviously know what happened. And the best thing about this year is that we have our quarterback coming back, just like Gayle Saunders just came back on a different device. How do you do, sir?
Yeah, you with us?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes!
Oh, hey, let's go.
Hey. You know, I went from my Mac. Then I was like, all right, maybe it's a Mac thing. I went to my PC. Didn't work on the PC. Now I'm using my iPhone.
You struggle with that one. Let's stay with that from now on.
How you guys doing?
But it's crazy. It's crazy though, because I had the same type of issues over here, man. I rock out with my Mac, and I only use the Mac for stuff like this because I just like the camera better.
Yeah.
I pull up my PC and I'm in standard definition. I don't like the way I look.
Yeah, I'm trying to come from a good angle. You know, this is the power look right here.
Thomas look.
So what did I miss? What are you talking about at this moment?
Basically, we just recapping, man. Braulio came on. He was hanging out with us. He talked a little Giants and everything. He predicts the Eagles to win. We were just cutting up, man. We were talking about the Cowboys. We were talking about the Cowboys game. Felt like that was one that we probably could have won. It got away from us. Nobody really cared. I mean, you know, it's under the circumstances. Christmas Eve on the road. Guys have been on the road for a month now. Just Arlington is just a place where we just don't seem to win for whatever reason. But at some point, we're going to have to. And fast forward now to the New Orleans Saints game. So I was just venting to Evan a couple of minutes ago, Gayle, and this is what I said. I felt sick after that New Orleans Saints game. Like, I almost turned Inside The Iggles TV into Drink Champs. It was about to be a wine bottle here. I was about to show up on the show drunk. It wasn't a good day, man. So let's get into some of the stuff we were kind of talking about before we took the air. So the vibe of this team. We know this team loves each other. We know this team has each other's back. This is probably one of the more healthy locker rooms we see, but it's different when they lose, man. I didn't like A.J. Brown's body language. I love Darius Slay. And I'm not saying anything bad about Darius Slay because nobody will defend Darius Slay harder than me, even if he's wrong. But I feel like he just doesn't like criticism to some extent. And anything you say on social media, Darius Slay is going to respond to. Anything you say negatively about Darius Slay's game, he and his wife are going to respond to. And it gets ugly, man. But I didn't really like him calling out Josiah Scott on the field. I didn't like tweets in 2 consecutive weeks where it's like, if y'all don't know the game, don't tell me I'm not doing my job. and I didn't really like A.J. Brown's body language during the course of the game. Now, I don't know what he said before he got that long touchdown run, because whatever he said after that worked. He went off, he got in the end zone, man, but he made the mention, and some people said he was throwing Gardner Minshew on the bus. I don't think so. I think he was just explaining what happened. That's just my own personal opinion. But at the same time, too, you can't give up on a play like that. If Jalen Hurts doesn't look up and doesn't see what's going on, and he throws you the ball, are you fighting a little harder for the ball and trying to prevent the interception? Because you got to be a DB at that point, right? Is the vibe off, or am I tripping?
I mean, I'm not gonna say the. I mean, I think the vibe's off in a sense where you don't have your MVP of the league intact. You know, like he's not been with the team the last couple weeks on the field. And I think they're suffering from that. I think it's I do think it's kind of weird with AJ Brown kind of calling out Minshew, because I don't think he would do that with Jalen. Like I don't think he would even go there with Jalen. I think I just think the frustration levels. I think there was a collective sigh in the whole stadium when he threw that pick. Half the stadium left, and it was just like everybody was pissed at that moment. So the energy was pretty rough in there. I just think at this moment they really have to get back to being the unit. You talk about the Josiah Scott situation. I think it took every ounce of for Slay to be like, people just got to do their job. Like I was waiting for the words that he was going to select. Then I was like, I guess he candy coated it to say it wasn't my fault. It was Josiah's fault. But I feel like it's tough, man. Eagle fans were blaming him, his family members. Shout out to Jennifer Slay. She makes banana pudding for our tailgate. So, we love them to death.
We
and
all
Mama
need
Slay.
to stay in our lives, man.
Yeah.
Like I want one.
She's a ride or die, man. But
Yeah.
I felt like Eagle fans were upset with that play. They're still upset with the 3rd and 30.
Yeah, and probably will be for a while, understandably so. But it's better that it happens in the regular season and not in the postseason and stuff. So they learn from it, they move on. Would you agree with some of what Gayle's saying, Evan?
Absolutely. I mean, one of those, I agree in the fact, especially that I don't think that if Jalen Hurts was the one that threw that ball, I think the conversation with A.J. Brown is completely different. I think that there was a lot of frustration, and I'm not sure if that frustration was, I keep leaning on the fact that I'm blaming this past game on Nick Sirianni. So I don't think it was all 100% frustration in that moment by A.J. Brown towards Gardner Minshew. I think that there was also some at Nick Sirianni as well. I mean, to go out there, run a play that you've already ran earlier in the game and not expect the defense to adjust. You're in my opinion, you're being ignorant to the other team's, intelligence. And I think that if Jalen Hurts comes back, I keep on repeating myself, but if Jalen Hurts comes back, we are once again a different team. We're a different vibe. And that'll be the key in the postseason.
All right, so let's move on to Jalen. Like, I like the decision. Looking back, I would have done, if I knew everything was going to happen the exact same way it was going to happen, I would have did the same thing. You
would have did it again, knowing that we lost both games?
I would have placed Jalen on the sideline for the Cowboys game. I still, even if I recorded the game, came back to the game later on, I still would have expected, knowing the outcome, that the Eagles were going to beat the Saints some kind of way.
Yeah.
The thought that kept going through my mind was Jalen enters the game, he takes a shot on a blitz or something of that nature. He's down against the Cowboys or down against the Saints, and now we don't have Jalen for the playoffs.
Yeah,
I would sit him the exact same way and everything. I didn't have it as we were coming into Week 18 with this whole theory that now the must-win game is on the Eagles side. If you told me a month ago that it had to win in Week 18 was going to be the Eagles, I would be like, no, you're crazy. We're talking about the Giants, right?
Right. And the whole thing for me, too, is the momentum thing, man. This is not only a must-win game in the fact that we're trying to lock down that 1 seed, but if we go into the playoffs with 3 straight losses and then potentially going away on a game, like that is 100% a must-win game this weekend, man.
We're back in Tampa again.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest with you, I think that I think the Eagles are a good team. I completely believe in the Cowboys folding in the postseason. I honestly don't think they get out of Tampa alive if that's how the situation plays out.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
I like that energy. I like that energy.
I love that energy. I love that energy.
I just think they just have to. The one thing that how their situation where they're handling the Hurts information, to me, it got a little annoying. I'm just like, is he going to play? Is he all right? Like the fact that if he could have played against the Saints, well, why isn't he suited up? Like at least have him suited up just in case something happens. Like, the fact that what happens if Minshew had gotten hurt and then Ian Brooks comes in, he gets hurt too, and then you have no quarterback because Jalen Hurts is not even suited up. Like, how bad is like
It's
the
like
man
a
could have played.
We bring up John Mitchell.
The man could have played.
I don't think that you can dress him though if you're not going to play him, because if he's sitting over there on the sideline in pads and we start to go down, everyone in the stadium's gonna be like, "Yo, put Mans in." Like, what the hell? He didn't like that point. He don't like when I disagree with him.
But the thing is, man, I mean, again, knowing the outcome and everything, it sucks to say it, but I feel like they made the right decision. I feel like they made the right decision against Dallas. I would not have played him if he's not 100%.
Agreed.
I would not have played him in Week 17 and things of that nature. Now, there's a part of me that wish I could go back, Back to the Future or something, and trying to change time in a hot tub time machine.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, Jeff. So I mean, you saw what happened last week in the Giants game with Kayvon Thibodeau and Nick Foles. To me, that was some dirty shit going on. He's sitting there doing snow angels next to Nick Foles. Does that make you nervous at all about putting Jalen Hurts in this game? Kind of feels like he'll be headhunting.
I didn't think about it in that way, but yeah, probably so. And I was like you. I understand it. And I think I was watching what is the thing with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless? What is their show?
Undisputed.
Yes, I'm watching Undisputed. And I'm actually waiting on him to fire Skip on the spot.
Yeah. We've all been waiting for it this week, especially after his comments with the DeMar Hamlin thing.
Right.
I just
so I'm
want to
waiting
take
for
him
him to
out.
fire Skip. It's not happening. And Shannon kind of made a good point, which he often does. And he was saying that, in your exuberance at the moment, I can get it, man. But once you look over and realize somebody's hurt, man, you got to stop.
And then to do this on the sideline and Steph Curry sleep, come on, bro.
Yeah, I didn't like
Well, the other thing is, like, pre-draft, there was these things that you're hearing in the back end about his character and like how he might have rubbed some people the wrong way. And I was like, so I was talking to my boy who's a Giants fan, and I was like, is this what we were hearing? Like, is this the talk that we were hearing? Because the way that he answered that question, he could have just summed it up nicely and said, I'm sorry, it could have been in bad taste. I didn't mean it that way. Just got caught up in the heat of battle. But he went on and on with this answer that didn't really make sense. And then even Giants fans were like questioning, like, bro, what are you doing? Just shut up and just own up to it and move on. We have other fish to fry. Like, but it is what it is. I mean, he's been,
And then he's talking about Jeff Saturday. He's like, I'll only take comments from people that played in the leagues. Like, he did, bro. What are you talking about?
He might make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right.
But it's crazy though. I mean, I checked out on Kayvon Thibodeau because we had long heard about some work ethic issues at Oregon, things of that nature. I've heard from some sources that don't want me to name them and everything, but that was some reason why some of the SEC teams checked out. And then it kind of drives the point home when you're at the combine and you're telling everybody that I don't feel like working out because it was a long day. Bringing it back to the midnight green here, or in this case, all black. We talked about the vibe. We talked about Jalen Hurts. Everybody in agreement they made the right decision with Jalen Hurts. We pretty much
protect him. Got to protect him. Yeah.
All right.
I would have brought him back last week.
Last week. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, instead of bringing him back, we got Gardner Minshew, and Gardner Minshew stunk up the joint. So, what are the chances of him actually ruining his chances of being a starter next year for another team? Because it's not happening here.
I think teams will look at the situation and, can he just have a bad game? Was this his bad game? Because you look at the Jets game that he came in and he lit it up. But, like, again, some people, he put up close to 300 yards on a good Dallas defense. But it was a bad game all around. I think the way that his pocket presence, I think he got shook early. I was saying on our show, I was like, I could hear Mobb Deep, Shook Ones playing in the background, because I was like, once Miles missed that block and then the second play he was getting chased and he was running for his life. I was like, he started the game off shook once, and so then it just kind of like progressed. But again, you lose lane. It's a tough situation for most quarterbacks. But I think I think teams will still take a look at Minshew.
Man, I was tripping, man, because I actually met Mobb Deep and did an interview with them once, and the dudes
Oh,
came
get
up.
out of here.
No
I was
way.
like, these dudes are 4 feet tall, man. These dudes are 6'5".
Yeah, it was funny because I was a long time ago. There was a Sprint on 42nd Street. I work in Times Square, and long line. And then Havoc walks in, and then he looks at the line. Then everyone was like, "Is that Mobb Deep?" And then he was like looking at the line, and he like slapped his hands and like on his legs like he was like a toddler, and then he walked out like the dude. He gonna cry in the car. He ran out the door, and everyone started laughing because they're like, we didn't know he was that short. And
Yeah.
anyway,
Capone from Capone and Noriega was another one, but but Evan, you got Gardner Minshew in another jersey next year, or you
I think he'll definitely be not wearing midnight green next year. Whether or not he's played himself out of a starting role, I'm not entirely sure. I just think about like the bottom 10 teams in the NFL, and you look at like how scarce quarterbacks really can be. You look at teams like the Texans. I think there's a possibility he could get kicked around. But if I'm one of these teams that are in the bottom 10, I'm focusing on trying to get my quarterback in the draft. But, it depends on how that shakes out, who goes at the top of the draft. I think he'll definitely still be a backup in some capacity, potentially could start. But obviously these past 2 games haven't helped his cause.
Makes sense. All right, so we were talking about the game plan. There's a lot of criticism that Gardner Minshew failed because rather than create a game plan that was conducive to Gardner Minshew's skill set, what we decided to do is we tried to turn Gardner Minshew into Jalen Hurts.
Doesn't work.
The last 2 games have also shown a little bit of chink in the armor, and people are asking questions now like, is Nick Sirianni the guy? Are Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon what we thought they may have been? Those of us that support them, because everybody's not a Jonathan Gannon fan, but are these guys really good, or were they just bailed out by a very superior performing Jalen Hurts? What do you think on that?
I think that I have to ride with my man Nick Sirianni, man. I think that this past game plan with the versus Saints was atrocious, and I have to just give him a pass on that one. As much as I don't want to do that, it's one of those things where I just look at the collection of the rest of the year. I mean, I think that his game plans have been stellar. I think that he's made halftime adjustments. I think that I think about our Doug Peterson tenure, and we used to talk so much about the first 15 scripted plays and all that, but I look at Nick Sirianni's game plans, and I think that he has been stout all the way through from like weeks, essentially, all the way up until a few weeks ago. I think he's had really good game plans. When it comes to the 2 coordinators, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, there was a lot of talk in the beginning of the year that those guys might be playing themselves into some head coaching roles, but I think that might take a little bit of a backseat considering the game plans that they've come up with the past few weeks. Albeit though, man, like me and Hollis go back and forth on 4th and Jawn, just talking about is this defense being carried by the personnel, or is it more defensive game plans? And it's kind of, to me, man, like you look at it, like we're about to break a sacks record. There has to be some sort of Gannon influence in there, right? It can't just be the players.
Or Vic Fangio, as Hollis would say.
Yeah, or Vic Fangio, as Hollis would say, even though, that's another thing. But I think that the coordinators have kind of worked themselves out of a head coaching gig. But I believe in Nick Sirianni. I do.
Confidence level, I believe in Sirianni. I think what he's done, he's nurtured a culture, especially after Doug leaving. It took every ounce of to hold back all these Philly fans from eating him at that press conference, and then I think I got an opportunity to go to NovaCare a couple weeks ago, and was speaking with Jamal Singleton, the running backs coach, and he was like riding for Nick so hard and just saying what he meant to this group. The competition thing is real. There's basketball hoops all over that place. It's all about competition in there. He was just talking about the culture that he cultivated, being a young coach as well, and being able to speak to younger players and connect, and being like connection is the thing that they've been talking about over their over the beginning of the season. It's pretty real. I think I've spoken to Gannon a couple times, and he does come across as a guy who has presence. Like, I think from a outside perspective, I think fans would be like, but I think from a front office perspective, I think some may look at him as a guy that they might trust to run one of their franchises. I mean, not franchises, but run their team, just the way that he communicates. And, again, I think other coaches need opportunities out there that don't get the opportunities that they should and deserve. But I think I could see why some front offices might be interested in what he might bring. Because, the coaching world, they have their own guys that are talked about behind the scenes, like that we don't even know about. But again, I think Steichen's done a good job, dialing up the play calls the last couple of weeks. I mean, last week was the bomb that he dropped. That was not a good performance by Steichen. But overall, I think for younger coaches, they've done a good job for themselves.
I also too. I just want to throw in. I think that there is a lot of recency bias in people's decision making on this, because if you just think about, like, take yourself back 3 weeks ago, think about the vibes on this team. The vibes all year have been immaculate, and that is a locker room that Nick Sirianni has cultivated, and that's what I think about when I think about this year as a whole.
I agree, man, and you guys have made me feel better. I should have called you guys rather than look at the comment section. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Like we mentioned Darius Slay earlier. Like Darius Slay, I talked about the criticism and things, like, but we all want a Jennifer Slay on our team. Like we all do.
Who doesn't, man?
Right. And Darius Slay, man, like, dog, like this is the best cornerback tandem we've had in a while. And Bradbury took a lot of heat for getting burned the other time. Bradbury's never been a speed guy, but he's technical. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I trust Slay. I trust Bradbury. I trust his coaching staff and things of that nature. We've seen JG lay a few eggs. We've also seen the same from Shane Steichen and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they played themselves out of a coaching job, which is why I was going to send the question to you guys. I like Steichen. I actually thought that Steichen had a chance of being the guy first, with this being an offensive league.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the fact that in an offensive league, seeing what he's done with the potential MVP Jalen Hurts and the leap we've seen him making things of that nature, I thought that would speak very well to Steichen's case.
For sure.
Jonathan Gannon, I think, has done a lot better than, which is, like, as you mentioned, like, sack record. Second in the league or tied for second place in the league in interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't he blitz more? Because we're so spoiled by Buddy Ryan, and we're so spoiled by what Jim Johnson did and Bud Carson and things of that nature and stuff. But without Jonathan Gannon's scheme and the way he chooses to do things, we're not leading the league in sacks. We're not second in the league in interceptions.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, we weren't dominating in turnover differential for so long and things of that nature. We could win a game 6-3 and people will find something to complain about with Jonathan Gannon.
No, and it's the truth. It really is the truth. And I think that, like, one of the reason that I believe that Jonathan Gannon is so apt to rush for instead of, like, send any blitzes just comes down to our defensive line rotation. I mean, we've got dogs across the board, man. And like, we have got craziest depth on this defensive line that I've seen in my lifetime. And you just think about, like, there is really not a weak spot. And any one of these guys in the rotation you throw out there, you can expect a strong performance, especially when you look at on either side and you've got a guy that is probably got 10 sacks on the year. So I think that if you just look at a defensive line that's that dominant and you can get away with just rushing 4 all the time, then that just leaves a lot more room, behind the line in coverage.
It's been so good. We forgot about guys, man. Like, I ain't mean to cut you off, Gayle, but just real quick, like, we've got so many good things happening on defensive side of the ball that we forget about stuff. Like, Fletcher Cox had 7 sacks. This is the best I've seen from Fletcher Cox.
How about BG?
Yeah,
I mean, BG.
This is statistically Fletcher Cox's best season since 2018. 7 sacks, about 43 to 45 tackles, something in that nature. And he's dropped off how much he's been out there and everything. I think, keeping him fresh was the key. Sorry to cut you off, Gayle. Go ahead.
Let's see. I think OGs might think about the way that we deploy guys and the aggressiveness that they'd like to see a little bit more little bit more man. I think, just you have guys that like Slay and Bradbury who could, potentially move into the slot if they see Olave on a, Josiah Scott. You're thinking like, can these guys actually move? Instead of, but I get it. I get he wants to keep his defense the way it is. I just think at times when it's like that Leo meme where he's pointing. When we're in zone, we're like, there you go, the soft spot, right behind the linebacker, right between the safety. That's where teams are. It becomes a thing. So I feel like when you see your team, you start seeing the kill switch over there. You got to figure that out. You can't wait till the next half to figure that out. He has to move on the fly. And I think in terms of meeting a Tom Brady who knows the answers to all the tests, a Mahomes or better offensive units. You have to be able to react on the fly. You got to come up with some kind of game plan, and you can do that against the Giants. But when it comes to playoff times, they got to have a plan in place.
Totally with you, man. Totally with you. Predictions for the game? How you see this one playing out?
That's a two-sided coin because there's the Jalen Hurts start and then there's the Gardner Minshew start. I believe, as I sit here, that Jalen Hurts will be starting. So I think that this is going to be I think we're going to handle business this week. I think Jalen is going to ease a lot of our worries. I think hopefully he's not running the ball that much. I would rather see Miles Sanders, picking up a pill or, some throws to the outside. I'm going to go with a 33-17 win. Giants score in garbage time. Jalen Hurts ends up coming out of the game late in the third quarter.
I say a 30-16, so I'm right there with you. So,
all right, I'm gonna go. It's just weird because the last two games you catching the L's. I'm like, it's a new week, but I'm just saying it's just weird. I'll say 31-17. It's imperative that they get. I've heard some beats talk about style points, and I'm like, bro, it's not about style points. It's a matter of let's look cohesive out there. Let's minimize the penalties because this is all things that you can control. And I think in terms of just looking the part as we go into the playoffs, I just think you just look well coached out there would be a plus because the penalties, the mistakes, and the turnovers. I think we can't have that, especially against this Giants unit who potentially will be sitting a lot of their starters, I believe.
I think Jalen plays, man. They know where he is, even if they're not telling us. I know he's listed as questionable and everything, but if Jalen's not starting, he's not taking all the first team snaps, right?
Agreed. I think Nick Sirianni is doing right now is a smokescreen, which to me seems a little bit like overkill considering the Giants have already come out and said we're going to be sitting our starters. But if he's trying to go for the maximum competitive advantage, do it, coach. That's fine. I don't care.
But that's the part that's annoying to me. Come on, man. Just
you know what is fine to me, bro. As long as I see number one trotting out there when the game starts, I don't care that I was annoyed that Nick Sirianni didn't tell me about it earlier.
I get it. I'm just just use better choice words no comment. I'd rather hear no comment than he's
Cincinnati.
He's athletically gifted, more gifted human than you are, and he's
not lying.
It's he heals faster than you and your whole generation. Come on, just say he's not playing.
Yeah.
At some point in time, just let's move on. And just, but it is. We're actually talking about things that, in the bigger scheme of things, as they get into the playoffs, it's very minute. But in Philly, these things, we talk about everything.
We make mountains out of molehills over here.
Yeah, I'm hearing this question from everyone. You go to Acme, old grandmothers in the bread aisle. You think Jalen's playing this weekend? It's everywhere. Everyone's always trying to figure out who's playing this weekend, and I mean, Eagle fans are just nutty about everything.
I appreciate it, fellas. Well, like I said, big fan of you guys' work. I've been for a long time, forever pretty much. And I heard Warren Sapp say one time when he didn't get into the Hall of Fame the first time he was eligible, he was saying that the guys around him, the Deion Sanders and everybody, when he was still on the NFL Network, they were saying that he was a Hall of Famer. So that's why I did it, to say that, you know, these guys feel like I'm in the game with them and stuff like that. It's the same thing with you guys, man. Like, I've been a fan of you guys, but you guys hit me back and told me, you know, we'd love to come on your show and things of that nature. And
Yeah, you got to come on our show now.
oh yeah,
It's like the jersey swap. Jersey swap. Yeah.
We just got started, man. Like, this has to continue now. Like, you guys have an open
Absolutely.
invitation to come on. You guys don't even need an invitation. Like, if you see I'm coming on, just tell me you're coming on.
Hey, now when you come back to Philly, you have to come tailgate.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Got a cheesesteak waiting for you.
Yeah, and you guys are recorded now, so it's recorded that you guys are coming back on the show.
Absolutely, man. Looking forward to it.
For
Thank you
sure,
for having us on, Jeff.
Yes,
Well, we
sir.
appreciate you for coming by, fellas, and you guys have a good night. All right.
All right, take
Go
care,
Birds.
man. Go Birds.
All right, and if you tune in late, you were listening to the guys from 4th and Jawn, my main man, Gayle Saunders, and Evan Hearn, man. That was fun. That was fun. Kept them a little longer than I said I would. We're in overtime now and things of that nature, but it's Giants week. Sometimes those things happen. So, with that, I think I'm tired. We're going to end it. It's been an emotional week. But let me again say that I'm very happy that the progress we're seeing, almost miraculously, from DeMar Hamlin, that touched me in a lot of different ways and things of that nature, specifically because I have family that has dealt with hypertension and heart issues and heart disease and things of that nature and stuff. So that was struck me a little different. But I'm glad he's doing okay. I'm glad to see that he's progressing as he is. And we just pray for continued success for him. It's been fun, guys. I appreciate you guys for hanging out on Inside the Iggles TV. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate all the comments, all the readership, everything you guys have done to make us successful. And we're going to let you enjoy the rest of your Friday night. We'll talk to you again next week, all right? Take care.